Hello and welcome to this demonstration of Rentervention's functionality. My name is Hannah Kaufman and I am the Counsel for Innovation and Technology at the Lawyers Trust Fund of Illinois. I'm excited to share with you this demonstration today, and we're going to walk through an entire flow from start to finish, demonstrating much of the functionality that Rentervention presents not only for low-income tenants living in Chicago, but also for the person who is directing this project overall and for lawyers assisting with it. So without further ado, we're going to get started here. What you're seeing on the screen is the desktop version of the Rentervention app. And so this is what we will direct tenants to ultimately through marketing campaigns. They might see something like an ad on a CTA bus in Chicago that says something like repairs needed in your apartment, go to rentervention.com. Or they could say something like facing eviction, text help to a particular phone number. And what that reflects is that not only do we have this desktop version available that you're seeing here, but there's also a mobile web version of this. And finally, there's one version of the Rentervention system that's fully accessible via SMS. So you can actually have the entire conversation that I'm about to share with you just through texting back and forth with the bot. So everyone starts off with this bot. You can see the landing page. Let's get started. First, the Rentervention app will set some expectations, going to see if you qualify. And what we're going to check for here is whether or not this person who's visited the site is covered by the Chicago Residential Landlord-Tenant Ordinance. If they are not covered by the ordinance, then the law that this is all built around will not apply. So we're going to screen those folks out early on. And let's say, for example, your landlord lives in your building, then in that case, you want to be in a building that has at least 7 units. Because if not, you're not covered by the Chicago Residential Landlord-Tenant Ordinance. So if I were to click no here, for example, you would be routed out. And we don't leave people with no information or no help. We always close all of the loops. So here you can visit this site, and it takes you straight to Aleo's housing and apartment site. So they can find lots of information to help themselves there. But here, we're going to go through more of a flow where somebody has qualified. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click clear. This is a feature that folks can also use if they've gotten sort of far down a path and they realize that this might not be applicable to their situation. Maybe they answered something incorrectly and they realize now they just need to start fresh. So here you can restart the session and it will clear everything, including your answers, so you'll be able to begin anew. So here I'm going to quickly scroll through these. And this time I'm going to say it does have more than 7 units. Another piece here of the screening is that not only do we want to make sure that they're covered by the RLTO, but we also want to make sure that this is a tenant who's not either living in subsidized housing or living in a building facing foreclosure. And the reason for that is that this pilot is already going to be dealing with people in very precarious situations. They'll be facing eviction in many cases or very unsafe housing conditions. And we don't want to add another layer on top of it in the pilot phase where they could also lose their housing voucher or be dealing with an issue with more layers of complexity than we're equipped to handle right now. There's also plenty of services that we direct them to if they say, yes, they do meet one of these criteria. We can then route them there. But in this case, we're going to continue on. You qualify to use Rentervention. That's great. We're about to get started. Here's some expectation setting that there will be many questions, but there will be outputs as well, creating letters for the landlord, checklists of tips for court. This can even generate court documents and reminders. So we are going to begin. First, an apology that you're having housing issues, and let's see what they are. At this point, all of these are fairly well built out, and if you were to say something else, then we would collect information and inform them that we're unable to help with other issues at this time, but we'd like to know what issues they're facing if they're willing to share that information so that we have a sense of priorities for what might be built out in the future. We also, of course, direct those people to legal assistance, either via Illinois Legal Aid Online or Carpels. But for now, we're going to click I got an eviction notice. And first we screen to see if there's a lockout. Let's say no, there's not one. And keep in mind that all of these paths are complete paths. So if you were to answer a different way than what I'm showing you, there's a full conversation that flows out of that as well. So this is really quite a complex ecosystem of content that we've developed here with expert subject matter experts here. Okay, so here's some information that your landlord has to go to court to have you evicted. You can click on a resource here to see what that might look like. And this right now is a pretty text-heavy information sheet that you're clicking into, but we're going to have those actually professionally designed by Theory and Principle, which is the same technology software development firm that is behind building out Rentervention, and they're the ones behind this clean and simple user-friendly design as well. So, okay, we're going to start with some questions. Any papers from the court? Let's say no. Any reason to think there's been a lawsuit filed? Also no. Here I give you a little bit of instructions on how to check for that in the future, and this is updated to the Clerk of Court's website. But for now, what type of notice did you get? Let's say it's a 5-day notice. I'm sorry to hear that. We know that there's a tight timeline here. We already know that these folks qualify under the RLTO. They don't have, to the best of the tenant's knowledge, a more complex issue like subsidized housing or a building in foreclosure. And so we're going to route them directly to a lawyer if they qualify. So let's see. Let's say the number of people in household, maybe I'm, a single mother with one child, and I'm making about $1,500 a month. Great. So it looks like I qualify. We're going to ask for permission to share this conversation. And if they say yes, then we're going to go through and name some folks. I always use my boss's name as the landlord. And the very first thing that pops into my mind as the address. You'll see here we ask for the landlord's city because they may live out of state, but we do not ask for the tenant's city because that's an additional check just to ensure that they live in Chicago, because that's required to show that they are covered by the RLTO. So here I'm filling out this form, and you'll see we've left email address as an optional field because so many folks don't have email. I don't know. There's not a court date now. And here we ask for which way they'd prefer to be communicated with by. So I'm going to say email in this case just for ease of showing you. But if I were to say text, then they would be sending me all notifications and reminders via text. Here I get a message, your housing issue has been submitted. So we should hear back within 72 hours, not including weekends. So that's about 3 business days. And thanks for chatting. So feels like I'm done here. If I go to my email, I'll see that I have a housing issue submitted. And the reason that it has a string here is because I've tested this before. But here it says, hello, Hannah, your housing issue has been submitted to a lawyer. So that communication is done for me. The program doesn't need to do it, which is very exciting. And then what happens on the lawyer's end, you can see here, this is the administrative interface, what we're calling the lawyer dashboard. And this is the way that the project director will coordinate all of the services of both legal aid and pro bono attorneys. So let's go through as though we were the project director administering this program. Okay. I've logged in. Fantastic. And I'm not going to save that. So you can see here on the left, there's all different things that I can do. And we're thinking of these as tasks because this is really a virtual pro bono clinic where legal aid attorneys and pro bono lawyers alike can really sign in and take a discrete, bite-sized, limited scope task and help out with that housing issue, and then close it out, and we will return it to this pile, and either it will be closed forever, or if the tenant comes back, it will be reopened. And another attorney can work on it, even from a different organization. So the idea here is that we're really trying for a continuum of care that isn't really typically seen in legal aid or legal service delivery, where somebody is able to enter their information to that bot and then not need to retell their story over and over again as they move through the system. So for now, I'm going to look at assigned tasks. These are all of the tasks that have come in to me for assignment to a lawyer. And there's quite a few now because we've been testing the system quite a bit. But if I scroll to the bottom, where do I see it? Oh, maybe it's alphabetical actually, which is nice. So I'm looking for myself, and it looks like it hasn't come through yet. Maybe now. Okay. Oh, maybe this is the one, and I just went through again. So we'll go with this. I think what's confusing is that I used the same email address, so I'll reconcile that. But for now, what's exciting is you can see here I have entered previously that my name is Patricia Hill Collins, but same email address, so let's go with that. You can see my landlord's info. Here's his address in case you want to see any more information about him. Most excitingly, you can see the transcript here. All of the questions and answers that happen with the bot. And that way, we don't need to recreate the entire conversation that's already been had or check information beyond, clarifying or asking the tenant to expand upon something. So I'm going to go ahead and assign this. And when I click assign, all of the different options of lawyers that pop up are lawyers who have selected that they are willing to take on different tasks like this one. So I'm dealing with an eviction. It's been categorized, you can see under my name, as an eviction. And these are all lawyers who are willing to take on evictions. They've also indicated that they have availability. They may match the language requirements. And so that's generally the profile that this system is matching to. So it's automatically suggesting these to me as the project director, but I'm going to then have the human ability to see the options and select based on that. So I see that Laura Lawyer looks pretty open right now. She has no open tasks and none in her queue. So I'm going to assign it to her. And I could click on her email if I wanted to email her directly from the system to ask her, about her availability. But right now I'm just going to go ahead and assign it. So now if I were to go back, I won't see that same task in my assigned tasks list, but it would be in the monitor tasks list. And you can see it's changed to assigned. Once Laura Lawyer accepts her work on this, it will change to active. So let's go ahead and look at what Laura Lawyer is seeing. I'm going to log in as her, and you'll notice it's the same site. The only reason I'm in an incognito window is so it doesn't confuse Chrome when I'm logging in under two names at the same time. But Laura would log in just as the project director would, same site. And when she logs in, she sees a lawyer's view. So here, welcome back, select a task and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I can see that there's a new task waiting for me. It was suggested specifically for me based on my interests on November 15th, 2018. And we think that this is a pretty important design feature, that the project director is actually directly suggesting tasks for individual lawyers. What we've seen is that typically when you have technology presenting a long list of pro bono opportunities to lawyers, it's harder for them, and they less frequently affirmatively select something to work on than they would if they were directly asked, can you take on this particular housing issue? And so we're trying to replicate that here and have technology help us say, you seem like a good fit for this. We're going to say that we recommend you take it on. So here I'm seeing this is the name of the client. This is the type of issue. It's an eviction. And then I can see just enough information to run a conflicts check. So I'm going to run a conflicts check in my separate system. So that would be legal server for most of the legal aid organizations in Chicago, but it might be a very different system for pro bono attorneys. Once I've noticed that there are no conflicts, I say clear conflicts and begin, and you'll see all of the information gets imported. Again, I can view the entire transcript, all of the questions and answers to start familiarizing myself with what they've seen. I can add a note here. So let's say I want to say called and left a message on November 15th. And that will then appear in my activity log here. I can request a document if I feel like, there might be a conditions issue going on here as well. Please send over any pictures that you have. I can send that over. And you'll notice actually that I've received another email as the tenant right now. It says that my case has been accepted by a lawyer. So as soon as Laura Lawyer said, I'm going to accept this task, Patricia, me, the tenant, I automatically received an email saying that somebody started working on this. And so the exciting thing here is we've noticed that one of the ways the legal profession as a whole really falls down is in communicating status changes to individual clients. And so what we wanted to do was take some of the burden off of the project director and off of the lawyers working on the case, but still keep the tenant informed every step of the way about what's going on with their case. And so they get all of these notifications. And again, these are automatically sent either by email or by text, depending on how they prefer to receive them. So they're getting those every step of the way. So now I know as the tenant that somebody's looking at this, somebody's working on this. There's guides that will help me along the way in formulating my responses to Patricia. There are templates that I could use. Here, for example, this might not be the one that would be recommended in this particular case, but you can see it's a PDF and it's already pre-populated with different information. I can send a note with it. If I were to do that, here it appears in my drafts area. I would also be able to see anything that the client uploaded. So either if they created a document with the help of the Rentervention chatbot, that would be imported into here just as the transcript is imported below. Also, because I've requested documents, if Patricia were to send them, they would appear here as well. Let's say I feel like there's an issue with this task. Perhaps the client no longer needs assistance. She said that she got a settlement agreement with her landlord and no longer feels she needs the services of Rentervention, even after being told of the consequences of that decision. So whatever I want to say, let's say I submit it. This task is going to be removed from my list. I get a prompt just ensuring that that's really what I want to do. Let's say I confirm it. Then it's all done. So I would say that's pretty much a flow through the entire system. And what I think is critical to point out here from the lawyer's perspective is that everything is seamless and automated on their end, and that's designed to create a seamless automated experience on the tenant's end. So there's notifications that automatically go out to tenants every step of the way. So all the lawyer has to focus on is the task in front of them, whether that's writing a letter or making a phone call to a landlord, and they'll sign out and close out that task and let you know what they did. And then, of course, the tenant will get an automated message either via email or by text, depending on what they prefer, that asks about the outcome of the representation and their satisfaction with it. All right. Thank you all for joining us, and we will be in touch soon.